So welcome everyone to today's webinar, Breaking Down Silos, How Legal, HR and Operations Can Collaborate on Compliance. So we have a lot of folks from the compliance departments, from legal departments. We have some students also, and I can see people have joined us from Pan India. I see a lot of registrations coming in from Mumbai, Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi. So we have a good chunk of, varied audiences present. And we are happy that we have a lot of companies who have joined in as well. So my name is Ashna, and with me is Ishan. We are from the product team of Manucomply. We work with hundreds of organizations to transform their compliance functions.
Thanks, Asha. Great to be here, and I'm really excited about today's session because this topic of cross-department collaboration is like the number one pain point that we hear from compliance teams across industries. Yes, so looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So before we dive in, just a few notes for everyone who has joined the webinar today, that this webinar will run for about 30 to 40 minutes. And then post that, we can have a Q&A session for another 15 minutes. So please, as and how you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat box and we'll address them in the end. And also, another thing, you can see on the screen, we have mentioned labor codes, DPDP Act, ESG, and AI governance as one of our topics. But please, we are not here to give you any lectures about the law or what are these compliances of, but we are instead going to show you how to implement these smoothly across organizations using a centralized platform. So if you are here, that you will know that what does this law say? So no, but how one can incorporate these in workflows is what we're going to address because they are here. Now we have to just implement it. So the session will be more on those lines. So Ishan, like you have, been interacting with so many organizations in the past 2-3 years. What has been your experience like? What do you think happens when a company is in a compliance chaos?
Okay. So after working with various compliance teams across different industries, there's this one pain point, and which is even our topic also today. And the pain point is that the teams are unable to collaborate and communicate each and everything from a compliance management point, right? So that is one thing that compliance teams are facing. So there is no proper communication, and due to that non-communication, you can even see the data point that 73% of companies still manage through spreadsheets and emails, and 85% of the compliances failure occur due to miscommunication between the departments. So that is, I think, a key pain point of all the teams.
Correct. And there are so many regulations that are coming on a daily basis. So, 10 years back, we wouldn't have seen so many changes in regulations, but now the data points say that there are 234 average regulatory alerts per day. So if I talk about any mid-sized organization, so definitely 30 to 40 that we are also seeing are coming. And from legal standpoint, it's a lot. I mean, along with your daily KRAs, you're also juggling with the new regulations. You read them, you know what has to be done, but then implementing it, that too with manual processes, really, it's a chaos. And with penalty numbers looking at 250 crores, that's high numbers in stake, high, value at stake.
Exactly, Ashna. Even that is the main point that why corporates, the organizations are moving towards a compliance management tool.
Right.
And even with we have seen like last year RBI also sent a guideline for NBFCs that they should have a compliance tool because it benefits the organization at the time of auditing and
Exactly. And what we are going to cover today is exactly that. We'll understand why, cross-department compliance challenges come. Why is it difficult to collaborate? why does these departments, work in silos and how to break them down. And then we look at specific risks that gets created because of the manual processes that, people have created. And then from there, we go to how to build audit-ready workflows across departments so that when at the time of audit, departments are always audit-ready. What are few of the organizations using Manucomply have seen is they have been audit-ready in 48 hours, not weeks, not days, not months, within 48 hours. So that's a number that we're actually proud of. And then we'll assess, the big impact of labor codes, DPDP, ESG, AI governance, what nowadays people are mostly talking about. So how do they actually impact all of these departments and why it is important for these departments to work collaboratively. And then in the end, of course, every compliance function, every company needs to present compliance function to the board. So how to make that easy is also would be a
yes. And coming to your last point, Ashna, again. So when I was when we are the team is implementing the Manucomply tool to various organizations, this 6 point of creating executive dashboard for board level visibility is very important because in Manucomply, what you will see that there are ready PPTs, graphical representations for you so that you can present it in front of management and especially the numbers. So at the end, the management is only interested in the numbers that of compliance is done and what is not done or what is not managed. And that Manucomply tool is working wonderful for creating those PPTs.
Right. So, coming straight to the agenda, why these departments have compliance challenges? Why are they working in silos? What makes them an independent function and how to bring them, together? So we have few examples what we have seen with organizations. So, for example, let's talk about legal team. Their primary work is to stay updated with the regulatory functions. They will have to ensure that the entire company is legally compliant. And in order to do that, they have to track around 2,600 laws and an average, if I'm talking about a mid-sized organization in India. And, they see the notifications that have come out, they have read it, they understand the implications to it, but then they have no visibility of whether the operations team has actually levied it. They hope for the best, they send an email, but then what after that? And similarly, talking about an HR department. So they have to manage labor compliances across, if they have multiple offices in multiple states, so they have to ensure that the company is being compliant state-wise. They have to have state-specific requirements also to be managed. They have to juggle with leave policies, payroll changes, contractor compliances, and they're not even sure if the legal team has reviewed the employment contracts or the finance has approved a budget for the new compliance requirements. They don't know who's the owner of it. Everything is there, but who owns it is not very sure.
Exactly, Ashna. So if I'll conclude this entire thing in one place, whatever you're saying, this is happening because of the miscommunication between the departments. So though legal team is doing their work, HR team is doing their work, operation teams is doing their work, but at the end, nothing is getting, noted down or there's no proper audit trail. So I think that is where a customized tool for compliance management is required.
Right. And if I talk about like operations department, they are actually the last ones who get to know about any regulation change. Why? Because they are focused more on production, delivery, and running the business. That one day they get a surprise inspection and they have to reach out to HR teams for labor compliances. They have to reach out to finance team for taxation forms. They have to reach out to legal team for license based, and it's a chaos. I mean, we have audit in a week or two, and the right people don't have the right documentation. Like you mentioned, there is no audit trail. Everything is lost in Excels, mails that were sent 8 months back, which form was filed when. So, of course, unclear ownership between departments is a huge reason why they're not able to collaborate.
Very true, and especially that juggling between the Excel files and the emails. I mean, though HR team must have done their compliances, but now communicating that over an email, over phone calls, that becomes the major, hustle at the time of auditing. So that is where a tool is required.
Exactly. And with manual processes comes huge audit liability. If I don't have proper documentation, if I don't have proper trails, if I don't know what tasks were assigned to me and what were then of course there would be errors in compliance tracking. There would be penalties faced. And we have seen that in the past. There were so many pharma companies, huge penalties were levied only because they were not able to submit compliance proofs. I mean, if you're a service-based company and your client asks for a single compliance proof and you're not able to submit it in a day, you've lost the deal. So we have seen, our clients come up with so many challenges because of lost audit trails. So I was thinking, what about, let's show them how Manucomply helps in managing these audit trails and makes the organizations more audit ready with, of course, compliances checklist coming into picture.
Definitely.
So, if I talk about, audit trails, if I talk about compliance proofs, and if I talk about collaboration, one bigger picture is that all the departments are working on a unified platform. There is one platform. So if I'm talking about HR, I'm talking about finance, operations, everyone's using that. So if I have multiple factories in multiple locations, I have all of them using a platform. Each one of them gets a checklist, what they have to do. And this checklist is all auto-populated. So let's say if I'm a big organization, now, organizations come to us that in order to have a platform, we first need to identify which task belongs to who. So they don't even know the task owner. So having a system, firstly, step one, every department gets their assigned task. So operations is clear on what their activities are. Labor is clear on what their activities are. Finance team is also clear on what their activities are. So if I talk about specifically how it is automated. So all you have to do is just fill in the basic information about your organization, where your organizations are, they have different establishments present, different states, and the tool auto-populates a checklist. And not just a checklist, but in fact, each of the tasks are also allocated automatically. So if I am someone from the operations department and I have to ensure the food and safety standards compliances for my organizations, I have the checklist in front of me. I know what has to be done, when it has to be done. I have a compliance calendar in place. I will know I have my entire year planned. I have, month-wise allocated that this week, these are the compliances. So that's how the manual process then shifts to an alert mechanism. The tool will automatically give you alerts before the due dates even are closer. So you can even generate your own alerts that you can specifically set it for a month before, 15 days before, 5 days before, however, your preference.
And that is something that is helping our clients a lot, because see, juggling with so many regulatory due dates, right? It is always very confusing. So you might be having compliances from different regulatory bodies and the due date is same. But then having an alert system is one thing. And another thing that we are hearing from our clients, that the checklist that we are sharing with them is very comprehensive, and which is the good part. So at the end, even though that compliance is applicable to them or not, but they are happy to see that yes, maybe if not now, but in future, this compliance can be there, and we already have that database. So these are the two things that are, helping companies a lot. And one more thing, Ashna, over here, I would like to show them. If you could just go back to the tool. So there we have an option of legal updates. Okay, so although companies have their legal teams, but we also provide the legal updates that are required, important legal updates.
So, yeah, coming back to the point, building audit-ready workflow. So, how does one ensure that any organization is audit-ready? Because we mentioned examples why that an inspection comes up. Now, the operations team has to reach out to the legal team, the HR team, the finance team. How can that happen in a minute? So I'll give that as an example. So let's say that I am an FMCG company and there is an inspection from the FSSAI department and they want to know what are the compliances that are covered among all departments, because returns might be filed by the legal teams, and then the factory head might be looking at the packaging compliances. Then there would be the HR who would be making sure about the different contractual compliances. So it one standard, but multiple departments are involved. So the tool makes it so easy that I have various filters. I can just put simple filters like, authority, FSSAI. Similarly, if I am an NBFC, I can have RBI, I can have SEBI, I can have IRDA. Like there are so many authorities regulating things. I can choose specific acts. I can choose specific departments. I can choose within HR. Let's say I'm focusing only on payroll and not the labor one. So whichever inspection is there, whichever audit is due, I can bring it down to, for example, FSSAI. Now, all the departments who are in charge of that, I can see the users who have completed it. I can see the approvers who have approved it. There is a maker and a checker concept. So the auditor knows that the task was done by this person on this day and was approved by the other person. So I have the complete audit trail of it completed on 21st May, 24th April. What is the status? This is actually approved. This is the proof against it, right? And this is again pending for review. So for the exact status, when I have the information, I can use it. I can build reports. I can be, audit ready. I know what happens if I am not ready. This is the penalty against it. So I have that information also. If in case there was a legal update with this task, I have that information very readily available with the task. So I don't have to, even if I have a platform, I don't have 10 places to go at. The task in hand, I have all information related to it in one single page. Not just the last legal update, but the complete trail. What happened in 2023 will also be captured here. So I know what action led to what in my organization.
And I think, Ashna, because of this only, our clients are, getting audit ready within 48 hours. That is something that we are receiving from them. So yeah.
Exactly, right. So moving forward, to our very requested topic, people, a lot of our existing clients have come up, labor codes have come up, DPDP has, is already been there. How do we do that? Why, how do we implement? Because the air that has been created around it is huge. And of course, why not? I mean, there were around 29 old labor laws that, were replaced by 4 codes. So of course, that is huge. Now, the idea is that we hear labor codes, but it affects HR, obviously. They need to update leave policies, manage security, manage registrations, but it also affects the legal department. They need to review the employment contracts. They need to ensure that every compliance is with new definitions. It affects finance. Payroll contributions have changed. It affects operations because working hours, overtime calculations, contractor management, all of that changes. So when we talk about new regulations come up, a lot of times it doesn't affect any one department, but it affects multiple departments, and the collaboration among all of them is really important. So one question asks, like, how do we implement labor codes? and mostly coming in from the HR, but it's just not the HR who's responsible for it. We have to ensure that we have a system where all departments are working not in silos, but unifiedly so that these codes, these regulations can be updated. For example, DPDP. Now, that's India's new data privacy law. And it's interesting because suddenly every department that handles personal data now has become a compliance owner. So, HR handles employee data, names, addresses, PAN numbers, bank details. That's personal data. Operations handle customers' data. So if your company is into retail or services, even the operations team has become a compliance owner as per the DPDP Act. And legal handles data in contracts, in agreements. Finance handles data in terms of invoices, billings. So, and then in the end, who's responsible for the DPDP Act? Because the stakes here are really high. There is about 250 crores of penalty. In the end, we cannot go department wise then, how that functions. ESG, so recently, SEBI's BRSR has now become mandatory for about 60% of the top 1,000 listed companies, and around 60% of the large enterprises are actually adopting ESG tools now in 2026. That's the data. And when we talk about ESG, is nothing but environment, social governance. So environmental, that's operations. They have to track the carbon emissions, water usage, waste management. Social, that HR, they have to take care of diversity, labor practices. Governance, now here both legal and finance get involved. They have to ensure the taxation part, ethics, policies, anti-corruption measures. So again, it's organization wide.
Very, very true, Ashna. Even if you talk about now this AI governance, so AI earlier it was just a buzzword. People were thinking that it would not, just another buzzword. But now AI is being used in across industries, across various departments, and with that usage, now we have AI regulation as well. So, which has emerged globally and in India also. If your organization is using AI tools, whether it's for hiring or for customer service or for fraud detection, you need to document it, what AI you are using, and you need to specify all the risk involved, what controls do you have in place, how you are ensuring the fairness and the transparency of those AI tools that you are using. Because at the end, AI, you are sharing the data in any AI tool.
Exactly.
Right? And exactly. Common threads across all four of these labor codes, DPDP, ESG, AI governance, is that they are cross-departmental by design. So it's not like, as you rightly mentioned, so with these labor codes and other. Similarly, AI is also cross-departmental. Maybe legal teams are using AI to generate for drafting purposes or other things, right? But yes, so you need an organization-wide approach for this.
Now that we know that, any new regulation comes up, all departments have to collaborate. It's not just one person's job, one department's job, it's every person's job. So how to actually make it a smooth workflow? How to actually ensure that every department knows who is the owner of a task? How to identify that, if, whether the HR has to do, operations has to do, and define ownership. So that's where Manucomply comes into picture, where if you are using this platform where your organization's tasks are already managed departmental wise, so how it works, any legal update that comes in, the workflow generally is that the regulatory change gets published. Manucomply identifies the applicable laws. It auto-populates it in your checklist. Every department who is the owner of that particular law gets notified. Tasks are auto-created with due dates. If there is a change in due date, that respective owner gets auto-notified. The alerts that are coming in are all automatic. And of course, the board sees the real-time visibility. How it actually happens is, like you were mentioning about legal update. So on the tool itself, on the right-hand side, there is an option where there are 3 types of updates. Now, every regulation may not become applicable. Firstly, a lot of times they release guidelines, circulars, notifications, draft rules, which become effective after some time. They are not immediately effective on that day. So those are more of informative update, which are sent, we have an AI summarizer. If you don't want to read the entire notification as is, you can read the summary of it. You get the exact notification and it's from the right authority. So it's not an interpretation of that law in any way. It's not it's the actual notification or the circular that was released by the authority. Then the other type of update is in case, for example, what's happening with the DPDP and the labor codes. So there are new compliances coming in, of course, but a lot of the existing compliances are also changing. So something, now you have a checklist you have to do for the year. Suddenly that checklist is changing. Existing task gets changed. So there is no manual intervention here. It automatically updates for that user. So here you can see that this is the previous compliance and this is the new compliance. So I can see what was the initial work that had to be done and what is the new work that has to be done. So I know what the new law says. I know what my task of that law is, not just the law, but what is my action item, whether I'm from the HR team, finance team, or legal team. And this makes the life of the compliance team really easy because then they are not responsible for ensuring whether operations team did that chunk or not. They were the task owners, they got an update, it got updated, and now as a part of the team, I know what has to be done. And of course, a lot of times new compliances come up. So you also get to know that if you were doing 10 tasks in a year, now there are new tasks that have come up because of the labor codes or DPDP or any other regulatory change that has come up. And it would be then assigned to the user with the correct date and penalty information and the compliance description that has to be taken. So moving on, talking about the true cost of manual compliance tracking. So over the years, we've been encouraging organizations to, move to platforms, to switch to platforms, leave the manual processes, and we can see that in numbers. I mean, we have had organizations who've spent hours in preparing for audit. We are in Feb, but if you come down to March, there are so many companies, the employees are not allowed to take leaves that time. People are working, they're burning oils, they're spending time in offices till 12 midnight. Why? Because they have an audit coming up. So all of that, it involves man hours. People spending more time in just preparing Excel reports, dashboards. Those are missed business opportunities. It's employee productivity loss that is happening. And with that, having, there was a recent, article, a Gartner report that had come out that there were 146 registrations cancelled by RBI for NBFCs in 5 years due to compliance failures. So it was actually, they were not able to do the compliances because the processes were so chaotic. We've had companies who have approached us that, settle our process. This is what we are doing. Give us a checklist. And things become very automated for them after that. So talking about the, not the last point, but dashboard visibility. So when you say you are audit ready, when, the board will just ask you, the labor codes have come out. How ready are you? Here is a dashboard, you can give them a glimpse that, okay, if you're talking about labor codes, here, this is the category. There are 1,541 compliances applicable. This is the data. this is the trend, this is my calendar. So for a board, these visibility is important. If I want to understand where are the non-compliances, I can just click and I get to know about my non-compliance data that is there. Who is the owner of it? That also becomes visible. Having multiple reports, I know, which particular manufacturing plant is becoming then, is most defaulty. I know that. So having that visibility helps. You just present the platform to the board and they are updated on a real-time basis. So that's how life has become more easy, that the compliances are now there. But then what about the tracking of it? So that also happens on a real-time basis. So it's a dashboard, what is needed, the reporting mechanism you get in a glimpse.
Yes. So also while working with the clients, manual process is quite difficult for them to manage as because the multiple departments are involved. So that is why you have like 72,000 plus compliances in that are there with us in Manucomply, and audit preparation, as Ashna already mentioned, is being done within 48 hours, and the regulatory update. So again, like there are might be some legal updates which might not be that useful to you or might not be applicable to you, but getting those updates for your information which might help you later words. So that is again a really very important thing to have in a tool, right? Similarly goes for the board reporting, as Ashna showed you in the tool, that how these graphical representations are already created for different industry, for various departments, for various regulatory bodies, various acts. So everything is already, very clearly visible on the tool, and that is something you can simply present to your management, and you can make the decisions fast.
Right. And these are the outcomes that we have delivered. These are the outcomes that the organizations have seen, that their processes have become smoother. They have seen, positive result in their revenue because now their employees are spending more time and actually doing the compliances rather than preparing Excels and reports. And when the board gets a real-time visibility, it gives them the assurance they are always audit ready. So now that we have come to the end of the webinar, in case anyone has any questions, we are, free to, you're free to ask. I have some questions that I could see in the chat window. I'll just open them up. So we have, a question coming up that we have locations in multiple states. So does the platform handle state-specific compliances? Definitely. It covers pan-India compliances. So whether it's your labor codes, DPDP, applicable in any state, labor laws applicable in any states would be definitely covered. Okay, so if anyone has any more questions, we are open. So physical professional services to assist compliance on the place, yeah, definitely. So if there are requirement where we need to visit the locations, the plants, the offices, then of course the company will provide visits. We'll understand your compliance structure. We'll definitely assist you in having those in place. So the pricing model depends on the scope of work. So if you have, it's a large organization spread across multiple states, if your scope is, wider as compared to, let's say, an NBFC who operates out of just one office, then yes, there would be a huge pricing difference between the two organizations. So you can, if you have any specific question about your organization in terms of pricing, so you can reach out to us. We can, enable you better in terms of the scope. I will, type in our contact details in the chat box so that can help you. So implementation can take from 2 weeks to 4 weeks, depending on the scope. So wider the scope, the better the the longer the implementation that happens. What about data security? Our compliance data is sensitive, definitely. So the entire platform is hosted on Microsoft Azure. So if you have sensitive data, again, the new data personal laws that have come up, we have to have ISO certifications, we have to have VAPTs conducted. So everything is displayed on the website. So that is very transparent. So your data is being handled, in the right way. You can be assured about it. Yes, so it integrates with the emails. So by default, every task owner gets a reminder. You can even set your own reminders. By default, the tool sends the reminders 15 days before, 5 days before. You can have your own customized reminders in place on emails. And if there are escalation reminders also, so if there is a miss, if there is a non-compliance, then the users, they can send escalation mails as well. So I think, Arijit, since you were not able to hear anything, I'll just type in that you can get a recorded session of the webinar, so you can then participate. In case anyone has more questions, we are open till 4:45. Feel free to drop by, or you may type in your queries at contact@manupatra.com, and we can assist you in any of your queries related to compliances, implementation, having a organized structure, unified tool for your organization. Yes, so if there are no more questions, we can end the webinar. And in case someone has any, you may drop it at contact@Manupatra. Thank you so much for joining, everyone. Thanks.